I never believed in ghosts, or demons, or anything that crawled out of a nightmare. I used to laugh when people whispered about doppelgangers, those shadowy versions of ourselves, walking around like mirrors with their own twisted intentions. I thought, that's just village talk. Urban legend. Nothing more. But now, I'm not laughing anymore. Because I saw mine. And he didn't just copy me, he spoke. Let me start from the beginning. I grew up in a town forgotten youth time. Dusty roads, flickering streetlights, and tin roofs that rattled in the wind. People there didn't talk much, and when they did, it was always about money, survival, or someone who recently died. I was the quiet type, the kid who blended into the background. In my name, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is, I never felt like belonged. Not at home, not at school, not anywhere. My father left when I was 6. My mother, tired and bitter, worked long hours and came home with silence in her eyes. We barely spoke. Our house always felt cold, like something invisible had drained all the warmth out. Maybe it was grief. Or maybe something else. I only had one real friend, Alien. He lived just a few streets away, and unlike me, he always had a smile on his face. We were different, but he never treated me like I was broken. Sometimes, he made me laugh so hard I forgot where I was. With Alien, the world didn't feel so heavy. We'd sit on the rooftop and talk about stupid things, dreams, movies, where we'd go if we ever had enough money to leave this place. We called it the escape plan. But everything changed last rainy season. It started small. A reflection that didn't match. I was brushing my teeth one night, half asleep, when I saw it. The reflection blinked, second too late. I froze. Stared. Told myself I was imagining things. That maybe the light was flickering again. But deep down, something felt off, and that was just the beginning. The next week, my neighbor's dog, an old mutt who barked at everyone, stared at me as I walked here. No bark. No growl. Just stared. Like it didn't recognize me. I shrugged it off, but inside, chill settled in his bones. Then I started hearing footsteps. Soft ones. Just outside in a bedroom window, always at midnight. I live on the second floor. There's no balcony. No tree to climb. Yet every night, they came. Tap. 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 And then silence. I told Alien. He laughed at first, thought I was joking. But when he saw the look on his face, he didn't make another joke. He offered to stay over. That night, the footsteps didn't come. But I still didn't sleep. I kept staring at the window, waiting. The next day, he brought a small cross and placed it above my door. Just in case, he said. Didn't believe it would help. But didn't take it down either. Soon, things started disappearing. Small things, my socks, my comb, an old photo from in the desk. Nothing valuable, but all personal. It felt like someone, or something, was trying to erase pieces of me. Piece is piece. One morning, I woke up and found muddy footprints leading from the bedroom door to the mirror. But the door was still locked from the inside. I stood there for minutes, staring at those prints, not knowing what to think. Didn't tell anyone. I just cleaned them up, heart pounding like drum in the chest. That same afternoon, Alien and I went to the old train tracks outside town. It was our spot, quiet and abandoned. We sat under the cloudy sky, talking about life, trying to shake the weirdness from our minds. For a moment, it felt normal again. He made some dumb joke about ghosts and cheap horror movies, and laughed. But then, he went quiet. His face turned pale. "Elian?" I asked. He didn't speak. Just pointed. Slowly, I turned. And there, on the far end of the tracks, was me. Same clothes. Same face. But not quite. There was something wrong with him. His eyes were darker. Empty. He didn't move. Just stood there, staring straight at us. And then, he smiled. Not the normal smile. It stretched too wide, like it hurt. And before I could react, he turned and walked into the woods. We ran. Didn't look back. That night, I locked every door, every window. I couldn't stop shaking. Elian messaged me, "You saw it too, right?" Didn't reply. I couldn't. Because the moment I reached for the phone, the power went out. In the darkness, I felt it. I wasn't alone. There was breathing, slow and heavy, just behind me. But when turned, no one was there. Even a reflection in the window was. But it wasn't doing what was doing. I raised my hand. It didn't. I stepped back. It smiled. I blinked, and the lights came back on. Everything was normal again. But knew it wasn't over. Didn't sleep that night. I just sat, clutching the small cross Elian gave me, eyes fixed on the mirror. Days passed, but stopped going out. I told them my mother was sick. She didn't argue. Elian came here once, tried to cheer me up. I could see in his eyes, he was scared too. He told me he looked up stories about doppelgangers. They say if you meet yours, one of you has to die, he whispered. I told him to stop. But deep down, I knew something was coming. Then, last night, it happened. I woke up to a sound. A whisper. Right next to my ear. It said my name. I jumped up, heart racing, and there, sitting at the foot of his bed, was him. Eloy Doppelgänger. He didn't move. Didn't blink. Just stared. And then he spoke. "You don't deserve this life," he said. His voice was in the voice. But colder. Deeper. Like it came from the place where light couldn't reach. I tried to scream. But no sound came out. He stood up, slow and steady, and walked to the mirror. He touched it and disappeared into it like smoke. Now I'm here, writing this. Trying to make sense of what's happening. Because just now, I looked in the mirror. And I think I'm the one stuck outside. After that night, I wasn't sure anymore if I was awake or still trapped in some twisted nightmare. Every mirror in the house felt like a door couldn't trust. I stopped looking at them altogether. Even puddles made me nervous. What if the reflection came out again? But the real fear started when I noticed things around me weren't just off, they were changing. The photos in our living room, once faded and crooked, looked different now. Your face in them seemed wrong. Slightly smiling when remembered I wasn't. Or staring too directly at the camera. Your mother didn't notice. Or maybe she didn't care. She was more distant than ever. Then one morning, while I was pretending to sleep, I overheard her on the phone. Her voice was low, shaky. "He's starting to see things like his father did." She paused, and my stomach turned cold. No, no, I can't go back there. Not to that place. I burned everything, remember? Burned what? That was the first time realized July family had secrets. Deep ones. And whatever was happening to me wasn't new. It had happened before. Maybe even before I was born. That same day, I went up to our dusty attic. I hadn't been up there in years. The floorboards creaked like they were warning me to turn back, but didn't stop. Something told me I needed to find out the truth. I dug through old boxes until I found a locked chest, covered in cobwebs and smelling of dried herbs. No key. But when I touched it, the lock just clicked open. Inside, wrapped in worn cloth, was a kabaib. A seashell, but not an ordinary one. It shimmered faintly, glowing softly like it was breathing. Alongside it was an old notebook, filled with drawings of creatures I'd only heard about in bedtime stories, tikbalang, kapre, aswang and doppelgangers. There were notes scribbled in the margins, in a language couldn't understand. Symbols. Spells. One name was written over and over again on the last page, Tayab. Suddenly, a sharp knock startled me. I hid everything under my shirt and scrambled down. It was Alien. He looked pale, shaken. "We need to talk," he whispered. We walked to the old rice field, where no one would hear us. He told me he had started having dreams. Dark ones. Where he saw two of me. One walking beside him, the other behind, staring at his back with glowing eyes. He said he woke up last night with scratches on his arms, and he didn't own a cat. "I think it's following me now," he said, eyes wide with fear. "And I think whatever it is, it's using you to get to me." Didn't know what to say. I was scared too. But didn't want to believe it that I was cursed. That I could hurt my only friend. We parted quietly. That night, I decided to visit the beach where my father used to take me as a child. Something about the kabaib pulled me there. The moonlight cast eerie shadows on the sand, and the waves whispered like voices from below. I sat on a rock, holding the shell, wondering what it meant, when heard something rise from the water. It wasn't a splash, but slow surfacing, like something ancient coming up for air. I turned and saw a man. Or something close. His skin was blue-green and covered in scales, long hair tangled with seaweed, and eyes as clear as salt water. "Ay, bata," he said in a raspy voice. "You've awakened something dangerous." I froze. "Who are you?" "Call me Iskoy, child of Tayab," he said, eyeing the shell in his hands. "That kabaib, it belonged to your father's bloodline. It's not Titoy. It's a mucha, iki. And it only glows for those chosen to bear the burden." Didn't understand. "You were never just an ordinary boy," Iskoy continued. "Your father, before he went mad, was Ibante, his guardian. One of the last protectors of the boundary between this world and the Gabi, the Shadow Realm. He sealed something long ago, something now trying to return. And it's chosen you as its doorway." And my legs trembled beneath me. "But I'm nobody. I'm not strong. Didn't ask for this." Iskoy's gaze sharpened. "None of us ask for our destiny. But when the mirror opens, someone must stand on this side and fight." He told me the truth. That what I saw in the mirror wasn't just a copy, it was a shade, a dark version feeding on fear. It had broken through the veil and was searching for something or someone. If I didn't learn to resist it, it could take over my life completely. "Many aswangs are waiting," Iskoy warned. "Your bloodline has power they hunger for. You carry the gift of the mucha, and with it, the curse. He handed me a small dagger carved from coral and bone. This will not kill them. But it will delay them. If they come too close, strike. And just like that, he sank back into the waves, leaving me breathless and shaking on the shore. The next days were strange. I could hear things now, whispers behind closed doors, the wind calling the name, shadows moving just out of sight. I tried to go back to normal life, but I couldn't focus. Every person passed, I wondered, are they real? Are they even human? At night, I trained in secret. Holding the dagger, practicing focus with the mucha. The notebook helped. Each night, new page seemed to reveal itself, as if the book was alive, teaching me. I learned small spells for protection, ways to ward off lesser spirits, and how to hide the aura from things that hunted Givencent. But the darker the days grew, the colder my house became. Little mother seemed lost in her own mind. I found her once in the kitchen, staring at the wall, whispering my father's name over and over again. She didn't even blink when called her. Elian tried to help. But one night, he didn't show up. Instead, I found the package outside my door. Inside was a piece of paper with just one word, Rigit. There was also a photograph, blurry, taken from the distance. But it was of me. Or something that looked like me, standing in front of Elian's house, face half shadowed, eyes glowing. I called and messaged him. No answer. That night, the wind screamed louder than usual. And when I finally dared to glance at the hallway mirror, I saw a handprint on the inside of the glass. Not mine. I touched the kabib mucha in the pocket. It was warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. Something was coming. And I had no idea if I was ready to face it that night. I couldn't sleep. The handprint on the mirror was still there. I wiped it off, but it came back again in the morning. Like you warning. Or to promise. The mucha around my neck pulsed softly, as if it sensed something was near. Didn't know what scared me more, that the enemy was getting closer, or that was slowly becoming part of this world didn't choose. I tried calling Elian again. Nothing. No reply. His house looked abandoned when past Eve. Curtains drawn. Lights off, even his dog, Max, was gone. My chest felt heavy. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had taken him, and that brought it here. I wanted to tear. But even tears felt useless now. Later that day, I sat beside the stairs, staring at an old photo of my father. It was the only one I had of him smiling. Back then, I thought he left us because of money. But now I knew he didn't leave. He was running from something. Maybe protecting us from it, maybe failing. I hated him for leaving. But now, I was scared I'd do the same. When Issa's mother finally spoke that afternoon, her words shattered what little peace I had left. I see him again, she whispered from the kitchen, hands trembling over a cup of coffee. Your father in my dreams. Or maybe not dreams. He's trying to say something. But his mouth is sewn shut. I froze. She looked at me with tired, glassy eyes. He told me it would come for you. That it would wear your face. I thought he was losing his mind. I felt the mucha burn hot against in my chest. Didn't protect you, she said, voice cracking. I knew this curse was real. I knew what blood runs in your veins. I should have told you. But I was scared. And then she walked away. That was it, no hug. No more answers. Just silence. Again. So opaque din I bag the dagger. The notebook. The mucha. Didn't know where I was going, but knew I couldn't stay there. The house felt wrong. Cold. Watched. I needed to find Ilian. I needed to understand what was really happening. As I passed the edge of the rice field that evening, fog started to roll in, thick and sudden. It clung to my skin like wet cloth. The wind was dead still. And then heard it, laughter. But not the human kind. It was dry, thin, like an old woman choking on her own voice. I turned, heart pounding. No one. Then a shape moved, low to the ground, fast. I gripped the dagger tight and whispered the words Iskoy had taught me, liwanag, bantay, ilayo ang dilim. For a second, the mucha flared with light, pushing the fog back. And that's when I saw her. Matandang babae, skin hanging loose from her bones, eyes all wide, mouth filled with teeny sharp teeth. Her hands were too long, her nails black like rotten wood. An aswang, but one that had taken the form of someone's dead grandmother. You carry the scent of your father, she hissed, moving closer. He ran. You won't. She lunged. I dodged, barely. Slashed out with the dagger. It didn't kill her, but it burned her skin, made her shriek and vanish into smoke. The wind came back all at once, and If dropped to the knees, shaking. That was the first time knew they were testing me. I made it to an abandoned hut beside the old riverbank before sunrise. It used to be a fisherman's house, but now it was empty and falling apart. I stayed there, trying to calm myself, trying to read more of the notebook. That's when the truth started sinking in. Yinwei family wasn't cursed Q's chance. We were chosen. Long ago, our bloodline made pact to guard a hidden passage, a rift between the world of men and the world of shadows. But someone in our bloodline betrayed that vow. Someone opened the mirror. And now that door can't be closed unless a new bante seals it from the inside. It wasn't an aswang this time. It was a boy. Small, barefoot, maybe 10 years old. He looked at me, then at the mucha around my neck. You're the mirror child, he said in a voice too calm for someone his age. Tayab is waiting for you. Before I could ask anything, he vanished. Not ran, vanished. Like smoke in sunlight. Who was Tayab really? A guardian? A god? Or something darker? I wondered for days after that. Sleep was rare, filled with dreams of cracked mirrors and whispering trees. I met others too, people who had seen the darkness but survived. An albularyo in a nearby village gave me a blessing. A woman who once lost her own child to an aswang offered me a piece of their family heirloom, a tooth of diwata, polished and set in a silver chain. Use it to hear what others cannot, she said. When the lies are too loud, it will whisper the truth. I added it to the pouch, along with dried herbs and salt. Still, I couldn't find Ilian. It was like he never existed. People in town didn't remember him. Even his name drew blank stares. Like the mirror had erased him from this world. I went back to his house one night, crept in through the back. Everything was covered in dust. But one thing was untouched, his drawing we made years ago, still pinned to his wall. 2 stick figures. One with glasses, me. One with spiky hair, him. Underneath, the escape plan. I nearly broke. But didn't have time. The mirror in his room began to ripple like water. And from it came to my face. Again. Only this time, it spoke with Alien's voice. You left me, it whispered. You left me in the dark. Then it smiled and reached out. But it was ready. Pressed the mucha to the glass, and the light burned through the illusion. The figure screamed and shattered into black smoke, but not before heard one last message. Taab is not your enemy. Your enemy is inside your blood. Now I sit here, Giza, the edge of the same river where my father once stood. The wind is quiet, and the night is long. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I'll make it, but the mirror is opening wider now. And this time, I'm going in. I crossed the river at first light. The water felt colder than ever, like it remembered every soul that tried and failed before me. I held the mucha tight in his hand, feeling its soft pulse, steady, like a second heartbeat. With every step I took through the shallow current, felt the world behind me fading. That life was gone now. All that was left was this path. But wasn't alone anymore. Just as I reached the other side, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, ready to fight. But it was Alien. He looked tired, thinner, like he hadn't eaten in days. But he was real. No illusion. No mirror trick. Just him. I followed the whispers, he said quietly. They kept calling me through dreams. Through mirrors. I tried to fight it, but they almost got me. I wanted to hug him, to Tirei. But we didn't have time. They're gathering, he added, voice low. The aswangs. The spirits. The broken things hiding in the trees. Something big is coming. They want the mirror fully open. And they need you to do it, T. I looked at him. Then why are you here? Because remember our escape plan, he said. And because if you fall into that darkness, I'm going in after you. We built a small shelter near the cliffs. It wasn't much, just wood, stone, and banana leaves. But it gave us place to plan, to rest, and to train. Iskoy had left scrolls and notes for me hidden in a tree trunk nearby. More secrets. More warnings. One line haunted me most: the enemy feeds on fear and truth unspoken. So I told Alien everything. About my father. Is my mother's dreams. The mucha. The old woman in the fog. The child who vanished. Even the reflection with his voice. And he listened, never doubting me. You know what scares me the most? I said one night as we watched the moon rise. What if I was never supposed to survive this? What if Isvay's whole life was just preparing me to be a sacrifice? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, then we changed the ending. But the signs of the enemy's power were everywhere now. The trees started bleeding sap that smelled like rotting flesh. Crows flew in circles above us at all hours. People in nearby towns began disappearing, one by one. Children. Old men. Even a whole tricycle full of passengers vanished between two barangays. No one spoke of it loudly. But everyone felt it. The darkness was moving. Hunting. Spreading. One night, we found a girl beside the river. Barefoot, shaking. Her eyes were gone, just empty holes filled with ash. She kept mumbling the same word over and over, Taab. 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 We gave her water, wrapped her in a blanket, but by morning, she was gone, no footprints, no sign. They were showing us what they could do, what they would do, if we failed. Training became harder after that. Elian learned to use salt knives and sigils, while I practiced using the mucha not just as protection, but as a key. It could open small cracks between our world and theirs. Sometimes I saw glimpses through those cracks, dark forests with no stars. Towering shadows with too many arms. Whispers in languages didn't understand, but felt like they knew me. One time, the mucha flared so bright it burned a hole in the grass. I collapsed from exhaustion. That night, I dreamed of my father again. Only this time, he wasn't silent. His mouth opened, thread still hanging from his lips, and he said, "I failed because I ran. Don't make the same mistake." Then woke up choking, with ash on his tongue. The next day, Elian found something while exploring the cliffs. Its doorway, half buried in stone, covered with vines and strange markings. We cleared it slowly, carefully. It wasn't a cave. It wasn't a ruin. It was something older. A gateway. And behind it a mirror world. Not just glass, but a realm. It's a place where reflections lived long after you stopped looking at them. Where everything you buried in your heart walks freely. We didn't open it yet. We knew once we did, there'd be no turning back. Instead, we marked it, surrounded it with salt and protective runes. We kept watch. But each night, we saw movement behind the door. Reflections of ourselves. Twisted, smiling, sometimes crying. One night, Jiva's reflection held Elian's head in its hands. Another night, Elian's reflection begged me to let him die. It was breaking us. We started arguing more. Short tempers. Doubts. He asked if maybe we were being tricked, if Taab was never the enemy. If maybe we were the ones tearing the balance apart. I couldn't answer. Because sometimes, I wondered the same. One evening, we heard drumming in the forest. Soft at first. Then louder. Deep. Rhythmic. Like a heartbeat made of bones. We followed it and what we found chilled me to the core. Dozens of creatures gathered in clearing. Not just aswangs, but chanaks, manananggals, tikbalangs, and others couldn't name. They danced around a fire that didn't burn, but froze the air around it. In the center was a figure in white, tall, faceless, draped in bone necklaces. Taab. Or something pretending to be him. He turned slowly, like he knew we were watching, even from far away. And then he spoke, not aloud, but inside my mind. "You carry the key. And the door is ready. All that's left is your surrender." I staggered back, bleeding from the nose. Elian pulled me away and we ran. Back at camp, I cried. For everything. For the life I lost. The life I never got to live. For the burden didn't ask for. And for the mirror that seemed to love hurting everyone I loved. "I don't know if I can do this," I whispered. Elian looked at me, serious. "We don't need to believe in ourselves right now," he said. "We just need to last until the end. Then we decide." But deep inside, I knew. The end was coming faster than we thought. And the mirror was almost open. For 3 days after that night in the clearing, the forest fell silent. No wind. No birds. No insects. Even the river near our camp seemed to stop flowing, like the world itself was holding its breath. Elian and I barely spoke. We kept watch in shifts, sharpening salt-dipped blades, whispering short prayers, and marking the soul around us with sigils we didn't fully understand. But something felt different. It was like we were being watched, not from the trees or the shadows, but from within. Like something inside us had already been marked, and all they were doing now was waiting for the right moment to strike. I thought I was just being paranoid. Until the mucha turned black. It happened in the middle of the night. I woke up gasping for breath, my chest burning. I grabbed the mucha hanging around my neck, and instead of its usual soft light, it was dark, cold, and heavy. It pulsed like a heartbeat, but slower. Sick. When I touched it again, images rushed in my head, visions that didn't feel like dreams. I saw alien but not the one I knew. This alien stood in front of the mirror gate, his hand raised. And around him, the monsters bowed. X dropped the mucha in shock. My breathing became shallow. Sweat poured from my forehead even though the night was freezing. I looked over at Alien, sleeping just a few feet away. He looked peaceful. Normal. But now I wasn't sure. X didn't say anything that morning. I just watched him more carefully. Every time he touched the mucha, it didn't react. Every time we passed a mirror or still water, I watched his reflection, but it never did anything strange. Still, I felt something off later that day. While he was gathering wood, I snuck back to the cliff gate. I had to know. I took out the mucha, still dark, and placed it near the gate. The carvings on the stone began to glow faintly. Then I saw something new. Another sigil had appeared on the stone. A spiral shape, like an eye with thorns. I reached out, and the gate whispered to me. But it wasn't a voice, it was a memory. A memory I had forgotten. I was 10. It was raining hard. My mother was screaming. My father was dragging a bag out into the storm. Inside the bag something moved. I remember screaming too, but no one listened. The memory ended before I could see what was inside the bag when, returned to the camp, Alien was staring at the fire. "Where'd you go?" he asked softly. "Just walked a bit," I replied. He didn't push. But something passed in his eyes. A flicker of suspicion or sadness. Maybe both. That night, I couldn't sleep again. So, wandered near the river. I sat on a stone and stared at my reflection. I expected something to jump out. But this time, it was just me. Tired. Scared. Alone. Elif, did you choose me? I whispered to the dark. The river didn't answer. But someone else did. "You were never chosen," the voice said behind me. I jumped, spinning around. It was the old woman. The one from the marketplace. Her eyes were whiter now, pale and glowing, but she stood like the earth bowed to her. "You were born to this," she said. "Not chosen. Not blessed. Just created." "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, holding a small object wrapped in banana leaf. She handed it to me. Inside was a piece of glass, jagged and humming with a strange energy. "The mirror is not a door," she said. "It's a prison. And your family were the wardens." I froze. "In the family?" She nodded. "Your lolo. Your ama. Even your kuya," before he vanished. All of them helped guard the seal. But one of them betrayed the oath. One of them fed the mirror with blood. And now the curse is breaking. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. "You are the last warden," she said. "But you carry the blood of both sides now. Light and dark. That's why the mucha burns you." S dropped the blackened mucha from in my neck, staring at it like it was alive. "If I'm part of the darkness, I asked, then how do I stop it? The woman's expression turned grave. You must choose. Accept your role and seal the gate forever, or open it, and let what waits inside decide the fate of this world. Then she disappeared, just like before. I stood alone in the river fog, heart pounding. When I returned to camp, Elian was gone. His bag, his weapons. Even his blanket. I ran to the cliff gate. And he was there. Standing right in front of it, the symbols on the stone were glowing bright red now. The gate was pulsing. Elian! I shouted. He turned slowly. And my heart broke. His eyes were empty. Black and swirling, like two holes leading into the mirror realm. I'm sorry, he said softly. Didn't know, not at first. What are you talking about? I thought I was helping, he continued. The whispers said I could save you. That I could protect you from your father's sins. But they lied. He held up his arm, and I saw the same spiral sigil burned into his skin. They marked me the night we escaped the orphanage, he said. When we thought we got away, they were already inside me. Tears ran down his cheeks. I tried to fight it, but the closer we got to the gate, the stronger their voice became. And now he looked back at the door. They're ready. A loud crack echoed through the cliffs. The ground shook. The air lay above turned gray. Then, slowly, the stone gate began to split. A line of light, no shadow, ran down the middle. And from inside, something moved. Something huge. Something waiting. I stepped forward, raising the shard of glass the old woman gave me. It vibrated in my hand, reacting to the gate's energy. Elian, listen to me, I said. You're still here. You're still you. But he shook his head. I'm just a copy now, he whispered. The real me stayed behind that day. In the mirror. And then he turned. Walked into the crack. And vanished. The gate sealed itself behind him with deafening boom. The wind picked up. Thunder rolled across the air. And all around me, the forest began to scream. Not with sound, but with memory. The memories. The pain. In my fear. And my guilt. They were coming for me now. And I was out of time. The forest was no longer a forest. It had become something else, twisted, frozen in a storm that hadn't touched the air. The trees leaned in toward me, their trunks cracking like bones. The wind howled not with air, but with memories, echoes of Elian's voice, Gina mother's last lullaby, Givi father's scream before he disappeared. And through it all the mirror gate pulsed. Each beat louder than the last. I stood at the cliff's edge, the shard from the old woman clenched in one hand, the mircha blackened in the other. The crack in the stone gate was gone. Elian was gone. But the energy remained, thicker, darker, ready to burst. They weren't just coming. They were already here. From the trees, figures began to emerge. Not monsters. Reflections. Dozens of them, versions of me at different ages. Me crying in the orphanage. Me angry, alone, hungry. Me holding Isivai's father's belt. Me with Elian, laughing before everything fell apart. They circled me silently. Then one of them stepped forward. Older. Taller. His eyes cold. You fought for a life that was never yours, he said. You believed you were chosen. But you were made. Crafted from pain and lies. He raised a hand. And now, you return to the mirror. Before I could move, the ground beneath me cracked open. I fell into the gate. But it wasn't falling through space. It was falling through time. Flashes burned through vision. And now Lola stories. You and my father hiding something in the attic. The storm. The bag in the rain. And mirror that had always been covered, never spoken about. His promise broken. Then it landed. Darkness surrounded me. But not silence. Alien stood in front of me. Pale. Still. Behind him, a towering figure. Long limbs like roots, face like cracked porcelain, stitched eyes and a mouth sewn shut by golden thread. Tayab. He hovered like a statue, barely moving, but I could feel the pull of his presence, like gravity, but colder. Alien turned to me slowly. I remember now, he said. The real me never left this place. I was taken. Replaced. And it didn't even notice. I stepped closer. You're still you, I said. Even if you're changed. You're still Elway friend. He shook his head. No. I'm your shadow. That's why I always followed you. That's why the mirror chose me. Then he handed me something. A small object, familiar. It was the mucha. But restored. Glowing again. I kept it safe, he said. Even after I lost myself. I looked into his eyes, searching for truth. And in that moment, I saw it buried deep, but still there. He stepped aside. This is your fight now, he whispered. Tayab stared. The golden thread over his mouth began to unravel. Slowly, painfully. His jaw cracked open, and from the darkness within, voices poured out, hundreds, maybe thousands. Crying. Screaming. Pleading. They weren't monsters. They were souls. Trapped reflections. Forgotten spirits. One voice stood out. Little mother. Don't trust the mirror, she said. It only shows what you fear the most. The figure lunged. I raised the shard the old woman gave me and pointed it toward the creature. It shimmered with light, but flickered weakly. It wasn't enough. Tayab swung his arm, sending a wave of energy toward me. The shadows wrapped around Dilly's feet, trying to pull me under. I screamed. And then, I remembered. The memory I couldn't see before. The bad desire father dragged in the storm. The one I thought had an animal inside. It wasn't an animal. It was a mirror. Small. Black. Cracked. He was trying to bury it to seal it forever. But he failed. And now I understood he wasn't running away from us. He was running from what was inside me. The curse had passed to me the moment he touched that mirror. I was the vessel. The gate. I wasn't just chosen or made, I was the last seal. And if I broke, the world would break with me. I stood tall, lifting both the mucha and the shard together. Light pulsed between them, strong, white, fierce. The ground shook beneath my feet. Tayab screamed, not from his mouth, but from his being. His body cracked, smoke pouring out, twisting into faces that cried out in fear. You don't control me, I said. Not anymore. As plunged the shard into the ground. The earth exploded in light. The mirror around us shattered. Tayab was pulled back, piece into the crack. And in his place stood Alien. The real one. Eyes clear. Voice steady. He smiled. You came for me. Then everything faded. I woke up on the cliff. Alone. The area was quiet again. The trees stood still. No blood. No smoke. No shadows. Just the wind. And a single crow flying free. In his right hand, the shard had turned to ash. The mucha warm again. Soft blue light. Steady. I walked down to the river, my legs shaking. And there he was. Elian. Sitting on the same stone I once sat on watching the water. He turned and smiled. I think it's over, he said. Maybe, I replied. Then I saw it, his reflection in the water. It blinked a second too late. My heart skipped. I looked again. It matched him perfectly now. But the dub stayed. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the mirror never leaves us completely. Maybe we all carry our own reflections. Some are just better at hiding. Days passed, maybe weeks. The forest slowly returned to its caraculus, birds singing in the early morning, trees swaying gently in the wind. The gate was gone now. Not buried or hidden, gone. Like it was never there. But something inside me had changed. I wasn't the same boy who once feared mirrors. I wasn't the same boy who wished to disappear. I was still quiet. Still scared. But now, I carried truth. Elian and I stayed in the woods for a while. We needed time to breathe, to process, to talk about what happened. He remembered most of it, the whispers, the dreams, the days he was only half himself. He said it felt like drowning slowly, watching his body move, but never being in control. I thought I was protecting you, he said one night, staring into the fire. You did, I replied. Even when they twisted you. We didn't speak after that. Just sat in silence. And it was enough. One morning, the old woman returned. She appeared from behind a tree, holding her cane like it carried the weight of the entire forest. Her hair flowed down her back like silver vines. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. You did what none of us could, she said. You ended the curse. I looked up at her, unsure. Then, does it still feel like something's watching us? She gave a faint smile. Because memory lingers, she said. Even when the curse is broken, echoes remain. What matters now is what you do with them. She handed me a small pouch. Inside was the seed. Plant it near your old home, she said. Where the curse began. Let something good grow where pain once lived. Then, without another word, she disappeared again, like a breeze slipping through leaves. Didn't need to ask how she knew about my old home. Somehow, she always knew more than she said. We returned to the village weeks later. People stared when they saw us, two boys who had vanished, now walking side by side, faces older, eyes heavier. No one asked questions. Maybe they were too scared to, or maybe they could feel something had changed in us. The old house was still there. Abandoned. Half collapsed from storms and time. But knew where the garden used to be. Where my father once tried to plant guava trees, even though the soil hated fruit. I dug a small hole and placed the seed inside. Elian poured water over it. We both stood there for a long time, watching nothing grow, but feeling something shift. That night, I slept in the ruins of the old room. It was quiet. Peaceful. And I dreamed. Not of monsters or mirrors or broken gates. as dreamed of as thy mother. She was sitting beside me, brushing thy hair with gentle hands. Her face was warm. Her eyes full of light. You're safe now, she said. And when woke up, for the first time in years, I believed it. We didn't stay in the village. There was nothing left for us there. Elian said he wanted to see the sea again, to stand on the shore and know that beyond the waves, life continued. I agreed. So we packed what little we had, thanked the land, and walked away. But kept the mucha. It had changed again, no longer glowing, no longer cold. Just still. Like it had done its part. I wore it not as a weapon but as a reminder. That light doesn't always shine bright. Sometimes, it's quiet. Like forgiveness. Or healing. In the months that followed, we passed through towns where people whispered about strange weather. Where animals refused to drink near rivers. Where mirrors were covered with cloth. The world hadn't forgotten. But it was trying. And maybe that was enough. We helped where we could, repairing roofs, guiding lost children home, telling stories to the elderly who felt forgotten. We didn't speak about the gate. Or the curse. Or what we saw. Not unless someone needed to hear it, because sometimes, the truth is too heavy to carry until someone else is ready. One evening, in a coastal town lit via lanterns and laughter, Elian found a little boy staring at his own reflection in a puddle. The boy looked frightened. Elian knelt beside him and smiled gently. It's okay, he said. That's still you. The boy nodded slowly. Then smiled back. I visited the family's resting place once more. Cleaned the tombstone. Whispered prayers. I told them everything. About the curse. About what they tried to stop. About the mistake that cost so much. But didn't blame them. They did what they could with what they knew. And now, I was doing the same. I left flower on each grave. A white one. For peace. Years later, in a quiet forest where the trees no longer leaned in fear, single tree stood taller than the rest. Its fruit glowed faintly in moonlight. People said it grew where something dark once slept. That those who sat beneath it felt lighter. Braver. Like they had faced something inside themselves and survived. Some said the tree was magical. Others said it was cursed. But only 2 people ever knew the truth. And we never told. Before I end this story, there's one thing I want you to remember. Sometimes, the enemy isn't a monster hiding in the shadows. Sometimes, it's the pain we carry in silence. The shame we never speak. The reflection we can't face. But if you look close enough, if you listen deep enough, even the darkest mirror shows light. And if I could find mine, so can you. The world will always have doors. Some we open. Some we seal. But the most powerful gates are the ones we build inside ourselves. To protect. To forgive. To begin again.